Last video I made this. Savoury Japanese custard with lobster. But I also alluded to my love of the sweet variety.
So today I'm having a crack at pastel de nata, or the Portuguese custard tart. Except I'm adding my own little twist and making a Wattleseed custard to go with it. This tart isn't anything groundbreaking, but I planted the seeds for this Acacia longifolia, or Sydney golden wattle, 2 years ago now, and it finally flowered this year. Those flowers turned into seed pods, and now they're finally dried out and they're ready to harvest. Inside those seed pods are these black seeds, and I'm gonna roast them, grind them up, and try and infuse them into the custard. Wattle is an iconic Australian plant. I think a lot of us know it from the coat of arms, but it was actually a vital food resource for indigenous Australians as well. Much like beans and peas, it can grow in pretty nitrogen poor soil. So even in arid conditions, it's a pretty reliable food source. They also grow quite quickly, and they're some of the first plants to come back in cleared areas or burnt land. And I see this so much in the building lots that I work on. They're usually covered in these acacia plants. There is a growing industry around bush foods and using wattle seeds especially. And they're mostly just used for spices like I'm doing in this custard, but indigenous Australians did use the seeds and grind them up and mill them down into a flour to make a kind of bread, or what sometimes gets called damper, but damper is more of the white Australian kind of campfire food anyway. There's actually over 1,000 different species of acacia or wattle in Australia, and the plant serves a variety of uses. It wasn't only food, acacia also had a bunch of different purposes, from turning the bark into string, using that bark to tan leather. Some indigenous Australians in Tasmania also hung the flowers in their huts to aid with sleep. It's not just the acacia that I have growing here actually. I've got this appleberry plant growing all around that trunk and stem, and it has flowered and fruited this year. So I'm super excited to try these. Hopefully they're gonna drop soon. Apparently they're best eaten when they actually fall off the plant. And if you've tried these before, I'm keen to hear what you reckon, how I can cook with these and try them out. I'm not much of a baker. Like I said, I'm not really doing anything groundbreaking. So I'm gonna be using Andy Cook's Portuguese tart recipe and just trying to infuse the wattle seeds into that custard in the place of some of the cinnamon and some of the original ingredients that are used. First things first, I'm gonna shell these seeds and get all of that gear out of there best we can. They love flicking everywhere. Ooh. Gonna throw them into this little bowl here. Wattle seeds are super interesting. They're a pretty complete food source, to be honest. And in terms of the nutrition, they're actually made up of about 50% carbs, 25% protein, and can be as low as 10% fat, but they can also be all the way up to about 25% fat. So this little white bit on the seed, right at the tip, up there, that's what's known as the aril. And that is what contains most of the fat. If you're looking at your own acacia species, the higher that fat content, the more suitable these seeds are gonna be for roasting. Something to do with how they heat up and reduce lipids, or fats turn into lipids, or some sciencey stuff like that is far beyond me. But what I do know is the more of that white little aril there, the fattier it's gonna be, because that contains most of the fat. And then the more suitable it's gonna be for roasting and then for eating as well. So while there's over like 1,000 different species, oh geez, of wattle in Australia, acacia, there are only a few that are officially considered edible, but from what I can see, that doesn't really seem to be due to a proper understanding of the plants and more of just like a lack of knowledge.
Now it's worth noting here that this lack of knowledge is really just amongst modern literature, sadly due to the mistreatment of indigenous Australians, as is the case with so many things in this country such as land management, languages and natural resources. Much of the knowledge has been lost.
And considering how ubiquitous acacia is across Australia, I'd say there's a good chance a lot of them were used in one way or another. So while they are edible, from what I've read, you pretty much have to roast the seeds to be able to use them. A lot of them, including this Acacia longifolia, can have a bit of a sulfuric taste to them, is what I have read. So roasting is gonna help bring that out, gonna help bring out that nutty kind of coffee flavor that I've been reading about. And we're gonna find out together what it's all about, because I've been waiting like 2 years for this, collecting seeds from nature, from the bush is, I think, illegal, and if not, it's frowned upon. So we've been growing this one, waiting patiently for 2 years now, and winter came, it finally flowered. We are on, lads. Whipping up custard and all sorts. We'll see. This year there weren't too many seeds. It was the first year that the plant flowered, but maybe in the coming years we get a bit more soys to it and make some flowers, make some bread even. That'd be pretty cool. Careful opening these things up. Don't crack them too quick, they're just gonna explode. Pretty tedious work this, picking these seeds out, but it's all worth it. It's all part of the process, man. Bit by bit. Loves a custard tart. We're gonna go for the full hog though. This Portuguese tart, this pastel de nata. And like I said, not a baker, but we're gonna have a go at the puff pastry a little later on. Oh, we've had a blowout. You can see how that all went down. I did pre-make that the other day, so I mean, I'm hoping it worked. We'll see, but not a baker though. Definitely not gonna quit my day job, that's for sure. There we go, last ones. It's all just gonna go, is it? That's all right, it's all gonna get sieved later on. All done. And I'm just gonna do this. Should be sweet, but maybe if there's just a few little sticky bits and whatnot, can help get them out. Yeah, you can see a few little, I'm assuming, immature seeds. Sorted, lad. Get a few of them out. So, the moment of truth though, we're going to find out just how much we got. Because there is a little bit of information online about people who have used Wattleseed for stuff before, but I'm kind of just flying by the seat of my pants here. Winging it. It's the best way to do it, I reckon. So let's get a little weight on these seeds, I reckon. Zero that out and get them in there. 6 grams. Wow. Okay, spanners in the works. I had down in my notebook 50 grams, but 5 grams, well off. Tablespoon though. I think we're gonna go with that. It's close enough to a tablespoon. Go the lot. Why not, eh? Okay then, the lot it is. So the first port of call with these wattle seeds is gonna be to roast them in the pan. I've got no idea what I'm doing here, but we're gonna have a crack. We're gonna get the pan nice and hot. I guess just throw these in, and I'm gonna get good old wooden spatchy and just keep them moving as this pan starts to heat up. Don't want anything burning. I've really got no idea here. But theme of the video, theme of my life, just have a crack, lad. Give it a go. Why not? Ooh, starting to get a bit of heat coming in here. I'm usually terrible with roasting nuts and stuff as well, actually. I just walk away and forget about it. I just don't really get an even toast on them, do I? Just burn one side real good. Definitely starting to get a bit of a toasted aroma on the sort of nutty kind of side, I guess. I don't really know when this is done, to be honest. We'll just keep it moving, eh? Getting a bit of colour on that little arrow, that little white bit I'm talking about before. Sort of darkening up a little. And I guess we're just trying to sort of dry that out a bit. And that whole lipids thing, I was wondering if it was going to kind of liquefy a bit or something, but doesn't seem to. It just seems to be drying out. Getting a little more brown on that little arrow in some spots as well. We're just going to try and toast that arrow, really. Just keep it moving. Interested to see as well. Oh, we're getting real hot. It's starting to pop and crackle. Interested to see if we lose much weight as well. Whoa, it's popping like popcorn. Hectic. No way, lad. Look at it go. Pop, pop, pop. I wasn't expecting that. Whoa, get that off the heat a little bit, I think. Cool little popcorns. Hectic. Yeah, right, it's definitely changing colour. We got a bit more of a brown than a black going on now. Hey, yo. Sick. Some of them are starting to kind of split as well. I think that's what we're looking for, yeah? Definitely getting that A little bit of a roasted flavour. No bad flavour either. So I think we're gonna take that off the heat and before it gets any more, really throw that into the bowl again. Definitely a little brown compared to what it was. I mean, if we can see, some of them are a bit more split. The other one's been popping like popcorn. Yeah, right. Let's continue. Lovely. Alright, so for this Andy Cook's Portuguese tart recipe, the custard, we're going to start with 20 grams of plain flour. Bing, bang, boom. Bit like that. Then we're going to throw about 30 ml of milk in there. Just get that mixed through. How am I going to do 30 ml? It's a tablespoon, eh? Tablespoon. Is 14.7. So 2 tablespoons, 1 US tablespoon. And 20 ml for an Oz tablespoon. What? Oz 2 tablespoons. What is going on, lad? You standardise this job. Fuck's sake. 30 millilitres. Standardise yourselves, mate. This is far. How am I meant to work like this? I don't know. Crikey, mate. Whatever, we're gonna do 2 of these. Fucking nightmare. Start. 1, 2 will do. Whatever. Alright, we're going to get that mixed through, get it smooth. And I'm assuming this is just so it's easier to get that dry flour into the wet mix, making a little slurry. And then we got our remaining milk. It's about 120 ml of remaining milk. So we'll do 100 here. 100 there. One of these, eh? Close enough. Good enough for me, bro. Pour that in there. Now I did get a little fancy and we are gonna use at least one of the OG spices of the Portuguese tart, and that is vanilla bean, because just had that vanilla flavor. It's always nice, isn't it? I've never done this before either. I've seen it done a bunch. Something like that. Something like that. Oh, it smells unreal. All them seeds in there. Open him up and just slide him down, something like that. Toss him in. Wow, very nice. Scrape it with the knife. That's what I've seen people do. In she goes. God damn. Smells unreal. Get rid of that. And here's the bit you've all been waiting for. Or maybe not, but definitely I've been waiting for. The Wattleseed infusion. Come on, scales. There we go. We're gonna put in 120 grams of sugar and 80 mils of water. Mr. Andy reckons 120 grams of sugar. Caster sugar, to be exact. Just a little, eh? I always forget, and then I bake, and then I remember how much sugar is in those little treats that are so easy to just get from the cafe, and you just don't think about it, and then you make them, and then you go, are you serious? How much sugar is in that? So that's 120 grams of sugar, and then we're putting in 80 mils of water. 80 mil. I need some better measuring stuff, honestly. Lad. If you got suggestions on how I can better measure water and whatnot, milk, 30 grams, 80 mils, I mean. 30 mils, 80 mils, I don't know. Hold on. Is a mil of water is a gram, right? 1 mil water in grams is 1 gram. Mate, onto it. I can just throw in 80 grams of water. Oh, 2 more. Oh, there it is. We got him. So in that, we're gonna mix all that up, and then in that, we're gonna add our Wattleseed. This is where it all comes together. I'm gonna give it a little grinder, a little bash them up. Oh, it's all that smell coming out. Super roasted. I'm getting that coffee vibe now. I understand when people talking about that. Definitely getting that vibe off it. Looks good to me. So, throw that into our sugar water mixture. Give that a little stir, get all of that combined. Now, the idea with mixing it in the water part for me was, I know people make like a coffee substitute. Definitely no caffeine, and it's more of like a tea or something, I guess. But hoping that we can get some flavor out of it in this water, doing it like this. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, eh? Throwing that milk on the stove. We're just gonna get that warmed up. Real gentle, real nice. I hope the light doesn't fall on us. Fuck me! Like the last one. Mr. Andy says, get this nice and steamy, get it hot. I'm assuming we're just kind of infusing that vanilla in there a little. Allowing all them flavors to sort of combine and mix together and whatnot. So let that do its thing, just keeping it moving. Don't want to burn milk to the pan, it's never good. And we got some steamy milk. All right, and whisking in that steamy milk bit by bit, and that all mixed up. All good. Now, on to the next. Now we get this sugar water, Wattle water going. Goal here is get this water simmering and then get it bubbling. Wattle can infuse and sugar can melt. Banged into that milk. Get some sugary milk wateriness. And this is the part I'm excited for, because this is where the Aussiness of this tart really comes through. And we're gonna see what that's all about, see what that's like, and get that water bubbling. I can see why it has this whole coffee thing that people do going on with it. It's not for me. I do love a bit of that caffeine. I'm a bit of a caffeine kind of guy, I guess. There we go. Now we're bubbling. I got a bit of heat there, bit of bubble. Getting that nutty aroma in that steam. I reckon that'll be enough for us. Get that sugar all dissolved. Olé. We've got our milky mixture and our Wattleseed sugar water mixture. And this one is going into the milk job. And not too worried about the seeds and all that just yet. We are going to pass this through a fine strainer as well, just before we mix the eggs in at the next step. So I'm just gonna put that in there, get that all waddled up, get it all mixed through. So we got that mixture, but we got a ton of them little seeds and vanilla beanie bits and all sorts of whatnot. Straight through the chinois, the fine strainer. That's gonna take out all of them lumps, bumps, and chunks. You can go through a little muslin cloth, cheesecloth, little chucks cloth even, just to get all them little bits out, I guess. But that's the one. All right, now in there, supposed to wait until it cools down to 60 degrees Celsius, he reckons. I mean, I don't even know if we're anywhere near that right now. It's gonna be close, well under. So anyway, we're gonna get some egg yolks. How many do we need? 3. Might just throw them straight in, eh? And hope, oh, no good. Whitey bits off, 1. Oh, one loogie. Can't win them all, folks. Especially when you're a rookie. Not a baker. A pinch off a little whitey bit. 2 egg yolks. Oh, fucking big debacles. Go on, that'll be 3. 3 egg yolks. Lovely. We got there in the end. Give it all a clean. Make it look nice and pretty. And whisking egg yolks in. Like I said, very nice. Definitely has like a sort of earthy kind of smell going on. It's definitely different to what I'm used to out of a custard tart, which is pretty cool. Get that all whisked up. And now we get into the pointy end of the stick. The Portuguese tarts usually have that little brown, burnty kind of bit on the top. And the key to that is a hot oven. So my oven goes to about 260, it says on it. I don't know if that's actually what it is, but we're gonna crank it way high and get it nice and hot. Get it ready, get it heating up, get it happening. And a lot of the Portuguese tarts you get, people like to make them in a muffin tin, but from what I've seen, you really gotta use these things because they're gonna help you keep them all separate, all spaced out, spread out, and all the rest, and get it nice and hot so you can toast them real good. So these are a little bit small, but they're gonna do the job. We're gonna get it done. And here's the fun bit, making pastry. Like I said earlier, I'm not a baker, I'm not a chef, not a pastry kind of guy, except for eating them. But I did have a crack a couple days ago. That pastry's been sitting in the fridge. So let's cut to that. Puff pastry dough. Right, never made the gear before, but for the Wattle, we're gonna give it a go. So, as I did mention before, I'm gonna be using the Andy Cook's Portuguese tart recipe because I'm not much of a baker and I'm not really coming up with anything groundbreaking here, but I am very interested in the flavor of that Wattleseed. So, following Andy Cook's recipe, we're gonna chuck in 90 ml of water, that's 80, but we're gonna throw in probably a bit less than that. Let's say that. Into that water, I'm gonna mix quarter teaspoon of this nice finer salt, crushed earlier, and I'm gonna mix that in and try and dissolve that. There's a few crystals left, nice and dissolved. Salty water, all mixed up, and add 140 grams of plain flour into that. And I'm gonna use a spoon because you never want the flour to surprise you and just come flying out. And I'm using scales because it is wonderful and accurate. Because I don't know if you've ever seen a little demonstration, but if you use the cup measures, depending how hard you pack that in, dense you get it, it's gonna change how much there actually is. 141 will do us. Take that, those can go out of the way, and just gonna combine that. Probably a little more than our 90 ml of water, so I'm just gonna add a little extra flour on there. And then with some clean hands, I'm gonna start just making sure it's all mixed through. We're getting a nice smooth dough. Just a whole lot of this. Recipe says 8 to 10 minutes. So 8 to 10 minutes of this it is. Just getting it, oh Jesus. Just getting it all combined. Nice and smooth. Oh good. Oh good, mate. Oh, starting to get there. Very nice. Definitely should have just used a stand mixer, right? Ah, we're going places. You wouldn't believe it. Nice, smooth dough, you reckon, see? Okay, all smooth and lovely. I'm gonna call that pretty nice and smooth. And we're gonna cover that. Start the first of many resting periods. And that's gonna sit for half an hour. While that's sitting, we're gonna prepare some butter because we want it nice and soft, nice and spreadable, and that's gonna create the beautiful layers to our flaky pastry. So it's 100 grams all up, and we're gonna use it in thirds. So I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna do it in little thin slices so it's a bit easier to spread. Bang on, lad. That's 30, gone 3. Anyway, 33 is our number. 66 is our next. Quick maths for you. 67 will do us. And our last number we're looking for is 100. That'll do. Just something like that. Ooh, it's close. 105. 101. Perfection. So, we're going to leave that. We're going to leave that to sit for half an hour. And we're going to let the butter soften up. And then we're going to start rolling it out. Yes, lad. This is where the rubber's gonna hit the road. 30 minutes is done, skis. And we got dough here. And we're gonna be making this pastry, making these flakes, making these layers. All things I have not done before and not really sure how it's gonna go. But we're out here, we're having a crack. Let's see what this Wattle's saying. We're all gonna find out together at this rate. A little sticky, bit of flour. Shit. I'm gonna make a 50 centimeter by 30 centimeter thing of dough. Mr. Andy says, nice rolling pin. 50 by 30. Use the old chippy eyes, the old tape eyes. See if we can figure it out. Still try and keep it rough. Square, eh? Nice and even. About 30 there. Keep on rolling, rolling, rolling down the river. I mean,
If I'm gonna be a true baker, I should really get a scraper going, shouldn't I? Try and keep this rectangular in some way. Not really a baker, if you couldn't tell. Not really my wheelhouse. This feels quite thin, doesn't it? Definitely getting close. Should have been a baker. Kidding. I don't have it in me to do them early starts. I like my sleep-ins. Not really fucking square, are we? We can just do a bit of that. What a shambles. It's just dough. We'll be alright. It'll do, donkey. Whatever. We get our butter though. Apparently we butter a third of this. So I'm gonna do something like that and that. And 2/3 of the dough. We're gonna butter with one of our parts we prepared earlier with our soft but not too soft butter. Nice even coat. Tell you what, doesn't get much better than butter. As my dad always told me, bread is just a vessel for butter. Can't beat it. Nice bit of warm bread and some butter. Doesn't get much better. Good gear that. So now we take this top portion and we fold that over there. I'm just gonna keep smooshing that out, stretch him out. And then we're gonna take this bottom and fold that up and over. So we've got a whole load of layers of pastry dough and butter and all sorts. And then apparently we repeat this whole thing. Look at this shocker, full rookie. But we're making it happen. We're having a crack. It's the thought that counts and all that. That's what they tell me, at least. Do it that way. And I'm just gonna roll him out and try not to push that butter out too much. See if it kind of holds its squarish shape and we don't lose too much butter in the process. Wouldn't be ideal. Oh, I can hear all that butter smooshing away in there. Oh, we've had a blowout. Not quite get to that 30 by 50, I reckon that's gonna be pretty close. I'm starting to lose a bit of butter. Let's do that again. See how much of this we can get through. That's a lot of butter in it. Yeah, I think maybe a little too much butter for the small dough we've rolled. But we're having a crack. Big pastry setup. Big pastry chef, he reckons. We're having a go here, people. What a shocker. That's gonna go like that. And then we go resting again for an hour this time and in the fridge. I'm gonna let all that get nice and hard. Oi, oi. And then we will continue and we're gonna roll it out and do our final little preparations before we let it rest in the fridge. So, I want him drying out in the fridge. So I'm gonna be super not eco and use some plastic wrap because look, you might have some better ideas about how this can be eco. Plastic wrap is one of them things that it's quite hard to come up with a better solution, to be honest. Fridge for an hour and we come back and we do our final little ting with it. Fridge for an hour. Oh, it's gonna do that anyway. Fridge for an hour and then we're gonna come back and do our final little preps.
I actually forgot to turn my mic on here, but really it's pretty simple. After resting in the fridge for an hour, get the pastry and roll it out again. But this time we're gonna coat the entire thing in butter. Then roll it up into a log and wrap it tight in cling wrap so there's no air in there. At this point you can actually chuck it in the fridge and store it for a few days until you're ready to use it.
So here we have it. Here is one I prepared earlier. I think that's what you're supposed to say. And Mr. Andy says cut it into 12 even pieces. So let's throw it on our little board here. Now it was like 2 days ago that I whipped this up and it's got it nice and chilled. It's come back to temperature. Smells doughy. So we'll go 1, dunk. That's not gonna work, is it? 12, and then they get split into 3s. Is it? Yep. 1, nope, a little bit wider. That's the one. There, what do we got? A few layers. It's not super ultra thin, but it'll do. We might even go a little smaller. I'll just square that one up. Just because those tins are so teeny tiny, I'm gonna go about a centimetre. You know what? We'll test one. We'll test one with our teeny tiny little tins we got. So you can do them in the muffin tins, but I'm just gonna grease the dog. Get it buttery because we don't have enough butter yet. And then seems, people think, the water in the hands. And then we just smoosh him and start spreading it thin as we can get it, especially around them sides. Oh yeah, 1 centimeter jobbies. Done job. Okay, butter him up. Make sure he's gonna come out. So yeah, I reckon that's gonna be more than enough, that one. Smoosh him down to the bottom and then work the sides is the move, it seems. Something like that. Centimeter numbers, more than enough. 4, 5, 6, 7. It's gonna be close. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe we can make something out of that. Greasing, and then just work it. Work it, work it. Up around them sides. Nice thin bottom. Don't forget the grease. Try and pick those sides up a bit because you get a little more depth and you get greased. Get greased. I'll just grease all these at once, I reckon. Maybe a little quicker. Systems, lads. Important bit of execution. All over it. Smush him up the sides. Oh, what we got? Be some later numbers, eh? 4. 4 for later. These can go in the fridge. Get them chilled back down. Okay. Tell you what, that oven is ripping, ready to rock. Rubber's really hitting the road now, people. Here we go. Custard. Need a better pouring setup. I think into our jug here, we're gonna just chuck all that. A lot of seedy bits that I think are worth having in there maybe for the flavor. Still getting that kind of earthy aroma, I'm assuming from the wattle seeds. Get all that mixed through and then start pouring these 2/3 fullish. Mate, looking good. Make sure we got enough. Looking perfect. Look at that. Just the teeniest, tiniest bit. Let me make one more, or not. It looks quite nice. Oh wow. These are gonna go in the oven 12 to 15 minutes and we're gonna wait till there's a little brown on top, little burnty bit, and we'll be right back. Part of the way in, had a little blowout on maybe one just there in the corner, but that pastry is doing its thing, crisping, browning, puffing up. Look at it go, look at it go. 12 minutes in and no brownie burnt spots on top just yet, so I'm gonna leave them to keep toasting because it's starting to, that one, it's getting a little spot on it. Maybe that one there as well, but they're getting close, they're getting close. All right, that went 15 minutes in the end. I'm gonna whip that out before anything burns too much. And oh my days. Got a few little brown bits here. Oh, that's hot. Ayah! Oosh! Pretty happy with that. First time pastry guy, huh? Ooh. See. Are you kidding? Look at these things. Smells good as well. Look at the bum on it. Look at the bum on it. Oh, I just want to eat it, but I know it's going to be so hot inside. I'm a fiend for that. Just straight in. Just burn the whole mouth. Yeah, a little blowout on that one. Man, I can't wait. I can't keep waiting for this. We're going in. We're going in. Oh. Oh. Very flaky.
crunchy pastry. This custard is gonna be the hot bit, I know that. I haven't made these before with the cinnamon and that, so I don't really have a good point of reference, but you can definitely notice the flavor of those wattle seeds. It's like, I keep wanting to say earthy, but it's not like, it doesn't taste like dirt. It's just like a deep kind of, like the same way coffee kind of does. And I get why people say it's like coffee. But it's just this kind of roasted flavor. Hard to like put your finger on. The vanilla comes through, plenty strong as well. But it's just got this kind of...
I was really battling here to try and figure out the flavor that I was thinking of that I couldn't just quite put my finger on. But after demoing the whole tray of Portuguese tarts, I realized that I was kind of getting a flavor of like popcorn almost. It was kind of like a toasted and roasted popcorny flavor. There weren't heaps of wattle seeds in this, so maybe it wasn't the best way to try it, but I think popcorn was really the flavor that stood out to me.
I think if you didn't have all that sugar with it, it would be pretty full on. It would like be good in like a bread or something, I guess. So maybe we can find out next year when they flour. If I can get a few more of them going, especially, we maybe make a flour and try and make some bread. But this year, got the pastel de nata, the Portuguese custard tart. I've been waiting a long time to play around with that wattle seed, and I'm stoked that I've finally done it. Finally pulled it off. So if you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all the next videos that are coming out.